Welcome everybody to the College Basketball Preview Show on the Gruely True Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Today we're going to look at Colgate as they travel to Lexington's Rupp Arena to battle the Kentucky Wildcats. Kentucky's favored by 30 points. Make sure you check this game out on BetMGM. It's the top sports book for betting on college basketball. Make sure you click the links in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. All right, guys, Colgate and Kentucky. Colgate has been really good the last 3 or 4 years. Kentucky, with new coach Mark Pope, had a tremendous comeback to beat Gonzaga, a game that surprised me. The first half played out the way I thought it would. The second half was completely different, though. Kentucky showed they could shoot the ball, they could play defense when need be. Mark Pope's got these guys headed in the right direction at Kentucky. I think they're a national title contender by the time all's said and done. But let's start off by looking at Colgate. Now, all great runs end eventually. And it seems like the Colgate Raiders' dominant reign in the Patriot League might be finished for now. Now, Matt Langle is an elite basketball coach, but the Raiders lost a ton from last year's Patriot League winning squad. 4 starters departed, but losing Braden Smith to the transfer portal is probably the move that really killed this Raiders team. Now, Colgate faced a pair of high major foes already this year, Syracuse and North Carolina State. Both scored just 72 points. Neither are on the same level as Kentucky, but that shows that the Raiders' pace, 278th at adjusted tempo, can keep a game fairly low scoring, which makes it really hard to cover 30 points. Colgate is 2-8, which is one victory over a D1 opponent, which oddly enough was a double-digit victory over a good UNC Wellington squad. Now, following Colgate has been quite odd this season. In the last 4 games, Colgate lost Appalachian State by 22, Sam Houston by 4, Cornell by 27, and Northeastern by 3. So to say they're up and down, kind of an understatement. Shooting is king for Colgate, and that's Colgate's problem. In the 2 narrow losses, Colgate shot 37-39% from three-point range. In the 2 blowout losses, it shot well below 30%. The only way Colgate could stay in this game is if they're hitting their threes. Colgate is a competitive team if the threes are following, but one of the worst teams you'll ever see in college basketball this year if they're not hitting their shots. The reliance on shooting intensified with Jed Woodward's injury. One of the staples for Langle offensively is having a reliable post threat who scores efficiently and can pass. Nobody on the Raiders roster can make that happen like Woodward or Keegan Records last year. The big thing is Colgate isn't a very good shooting team. They connect on just 32% from 3 while attempting 46% of his shots from downtown. The Raiders can shoot it well, like I touched on earlier, but you never know which Colgate squad will show up. The foursome of Nikolai Lewis-Jock, Brady Cummins, Parker Jones, and Chandler Baker need to perform here. The Raiders' size with these 4 in the perimeter is pretty good. Each of the 4 is 6'4" or taller. That should make the Wildcats' length less of a deterrent to Colgate letting it fly from 3. Now, when we look at the Kentucky Wildcats, as I said, Kentucky pulled off one of the best comeback victories of the year over Gonzaga on Saturday. And Mark Pope coached a gem of a game. Pope knew Kentucky couldn't contain Gonzaga's pick and roll, which prompted Pope to flash the zone for much of the second half. I guess Pope reverts to man here against a Colgate team that wants to shoot the ball. Now, Lamont Butler and Kari Creasy are both dealing with injuries. Butler missed the Gonzaga game and appears questionable for this when Creasy suffered a Jones fracture in the Gonzaga game. With the 2 point guards shelved, Jackson Robinson will start at the lead guard, with Travis Perry serving as his backup. While Kentucky loves shooting it from 3, the Wildcats could dominate the block in this matchup. Colgate is a very diminutive unit, with its 2 forwards standing 6'6", 6'9". Everybody above 6'4", ain't nobody above 6'9". Conversely, Kentucky will start 6'11" at Andrew Carr and 7-footer Amari Williams. Colgate's lack of size should bode well for the 2 dominating in the paint and potentially open up the perimeter if Colgate doubles down. Now, Williams and Carr are great passers too, but Colgate may prefer playing straight up rather than leaving a shooter. One thing I love about Kentucky is how little it turns the ball over while deploying a rampant pace. The Wildcats have the 6th lowest turnover rate, 13% in America, and play at the 17th fastest pace. That makes this a very dangerous team for anybody who plays. Traditionally, playing fast will lead to some turnovers, but that's not the case for Coach Pope's squad so far, at least. A lot of the success in limiting turnovers is attributed to every player on the court passing the ball well. If you can't handle the ball and pass, you aren't playing for Pope. Kentucky will look to impose its pace against Colgate's slower tempo. Now, if you're going to go on BetMGM and bet this game, that 30-point spread is huge. Obviously, Kentucky's going to win this game. I think Kentucky is one of the top 10 teams in the country, but I think the Raiders can cover. I think winning a game by 30 is a lot, especially against a team like Colgate that wants to play slow and can hit enough threes to keep the game close enough. I think Kentucky played two opponents with similar KenPom ratings as Colgate, which was Bucknell and Georgia State. The Wildcats scored 100 plus in both games, but only won those games by 28 and 29 points. Now, I feel like Colgate can finish within 25 points in this one because I know the Raiders have a chance of shooting it well. So when I look at this, I look at the 30 points, I look at the couple of injuries Kentucky has in the backcourt. They're coming off a huge win against Gonzaga. I think Kentucky wins this game 98-73. So they win by 25 points. If I'm going to bet the game, and make no mistake, I'm not betting this game because there's too many variables here. Colgate's not very good. But if you're somebody that's a Kentucky fan that just wants to bet on the game, bet on Colgate and take the 30 points. You'll be happy at the end of the night. I think probably about a 55-60% chance they cover. So take Colgate, take the 30 points, but the UK Wildcats will crush them in this game. All right, guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on X at Grueling Truth. Go to Facebook, follow there, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube, and make sure you go to BetMGM for all your sports betting needs. But for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.